Greetings. You are now tuned into the vault. Trust Christian own, nothing control everything. Just want to thank you for tuning in live or listening to replay. Always appreciate everybody that tunes in live or listens in the replay. It's always appreciated. It's been years, and once again, just have throughout this situation in the world right now. In July 7th, 2020, we actually have more listeners now than we ever have had, and that's because more people are able to listen to educational platforms and do their best to get something out of it. So we appreciate everybody for tuning in live or listening to replay. This is the standard Tuesday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time episode that we actually do. And so today's episode is 213 DBA, doing business as your name. And so this is a very important episode because we just get a ton of people. Once again, we do our best to answer questions in the public that a lot of people end up asking these questions through consultations through the vault, and we just want to address them outside on the public side. So sometimes people don't have to get the consultations; they can get a short version of the answer. It gives them some information that they can go out and go reference, even find sources to pull better information from. As far as building your information database on what is it that you need to make a decision in business, whatever particular business decision that it is. But we wanted to talk about today, episode 213, DBA, doing business as your name, because we can get into it from so many angles. What is this number for? What is this name for? Is it even bad to use it? Clearly it's not bad to use it. If they've created it, if it's been created in a system, there's a need for it somewhere along the lines. And so we'll talk about that. We'll talk about, well, where are the areas of clear identifiable interest. This is where you see larger companies that are test marketing out a product, and they may want to go under another name. And so in turn, they announce to the public that they are the ones selling this product, but they're doing it as this business name. And so we see that as a clear distinction where we have quite a few people that contact the vault and they're utilizing DBAs to literally think that they're going to own their government name. They think that they are going to be in a superior position because they own the rights to a name. So they're doing business as now, all caps letters. So we hear that, well, hey, my upper and lowercase name, that's the real me, and the fake me is the corporation or the entity or even a doing business as name. So this is just something that we really wanted to address because so many people really have no clue about which direction to go in with the DBA, specifically from a lot of families and individuals contacting us from the Moorish community. We get a lot of brothers and sisters that are in different communities and they're utilizing DBAs and they're saying, well, I want to control my name. I want to be in control of my name. And ladies and gentlemen, we can talk about it from that perspective, but we're going to talk about it from the perspective of doing it correctly, doing it as a business approach, as opposed to doing it from an approach of, well, I'm trying to be in control of this government name. Ladies and gentlemen, when you all come to the vault and you're in trustee training, you learn own nothing, control everything. That is the first rule. That's the saying of the entire channel is own nothing, control everything. So when we get in these positions of own nothing, control everything, doing business as your name is literally doing business, you owning it and not you controlling it. So it's very important to be in a position of own nothing, control everything when we're talking about it from that position. But what happens to the people that are in the wash that literally say, okay, well, we are in this situation now, and these are the conversations we have in the private. People come over, they say, oh, what do you think of the DBA? I got control of my birth certificate, and I'm going to do a DBA. So when you do the DBA, do you do it on a county level? A lot of people aren't aware of how to file a DBA. It's nothing wrong with necessarily or per se a DBA, but the way that we hear it come from the Moorish community or sovereign communities, these people that literally say, "Oh, I just want to control an asset." Well, doing business as does not identify that you are controlling an asset. It just shows that there is evidence of of something. That there's evidence of a name, literally doing business as. So we're gonna go ahead and clear up some things for you all. A DBA versus a LLC. That provides limited liability protection. Under the DBA, there's no distinction between the business owner and the business. The business owner is liable for all the expenses incurred on behalf of the business. So, in turn, we get a lot of people say, oh, well, I'm in control of the name, so, we're going to discharge the debt. But, ladies and gentlemen, what happened as you being basically a sole proprietor? You basically have no difference between you and a DBA. If you own a DBA, that is you. You just got another name. See, whether you know it or not, it's called an alter ego. But the guys that sold you these SPC packets, they tell you to do a DBA. Oh, so yeah, just go in, establish this thing, whatever it is, trust, business, whatever it is, and then, go file for a DBA and use that. So they got you running from this entity to that entity, but not knowing that a DBA is literally its owner. It's considered an alter ego. And people still go out and they do these things from lack of research. And so the vault provides and encourages people to do the research, the financial research for their financial futures. And a DBA is a tool that has been misused by so many. So it's rather important to talk about the benefits or the minuses, and that's just the bottom line. What are the benefits of a DBA? It gives the business or the person utilizing it another name. It doesn't have to be. It doesn't cost a lot. It does put the public on notice that this is what's going on, and in turn, that's what happens. It's that simple. But what are some of the drawbacks? We'll stay in the pluses. Some of the pluses are that you can test market a product under another name. See, we're talking about it from a business perspective, not from a perspective of trying to be some vigilante, trying to escape the so-called system by coming up with a new name. We get so many trustees that even change their name, but they don't change their name. They just go create this DBA and now they want to be called some long weird name or some long foreign name, and it's just like, well, at the end of the day, that's still you. You're still the trustee. You're still the manager. You're still the owner operator of that number, of that entity, that doing business as number, or that doing business as entity. You are still in control of it because you never gave up ownership. Do you give up ownership in doing business as name? No. You still own it. And because you own it, you can be taxed or sued out of it. It's really simple. There's a few options that can happen. Can it be taken from you? Yes. So we're talking about business from a perspective of own nothing, control everything. DBAs don't really fortify that. We wanted to address this question. We get a bunch of questions in trustee training about this particular thing. We get them through different type of agreements, whatever it is. The doing business as name is not even considered on most state levels. Like we say, the DBA is on the county level. You can do it on state, but in some places. But we talk about it from the DBA from the county level, ladies and gentlemen. And what happens? People locally end up doing business as something. And what happens? Are they separating their business wealth from their family wealth? No. All they're doing is following what the internet peddlers are telling them, which is, oh, just go file for, get out of your social, stop using your social. These are the recommendations that people on the internet are pushing. Oh, just stop doing this. But then in turn, they tell them to go get a DBA. Then they tell them, oh yeah, go get the EIN. Well, how'd you get an EIN if you didn't use the social? Oh, we got all these different ways. Sure you do. We hear it every time. But ladies and gentlemen, how much is that put in their pocket? And we're talking about DBA from the perspective of actually making money off it, not from the perspective of just making it have a hold on an asset where supposedly you own the asset, whether it's through a UCC1 or whether that's through an actual DBA. You still owning the asset, which is the name itself. Some people say, oh, well, is the name in all caps? Does it matter if it's the difference between the name in all caps or not? What difference does it make, ladies and gentlemen? Well, because the name in all caps is a corporation. Ladies and gentlemen, when you go fill out your name on any application, do you write it in all caps? No. But does it end up in a computer system like that? Yes. That's because it's already business, not personal. It was never personal. People thought they were slick and we're going to say, oh, well, that's not me because it's all caps. Okay, it's an amalgamation. It's an artificial entity. Well, it's the doing business as name. It's an artificial entity. And who owns it? You do. Because it's your name. And this is why trustees are never encouraged to do anything in their name. Why? Because a name is a person, a name is a corporation. Right, but if you didn't separate that from yourself, you're liable for it. Ownership incurs liability. That's what people are engaging in. That's what they're encountering. So, the IRS is not a government entity requiring the DBA to file tax returns. Businesses are also required to submit returns to the state. Why? Because usually filed on a county level, depending on the state, you may be required to file quarterly or annual tax. These are things you can go look up on the internet, ladies and gentlemen. And these are things that are making you aware of that this is a business move. And if you still own something, you're still in a position of liability. And that's the only point that we wanted to point out today is to point out that because so many people feel like this is a separate, distinct legal entity. It's not. They try to say that the DBA is just something second to the legal name. So they already let you know you're doing business. Sometimes it can be looked at as a trade name, a trading name, or a business name. But that means you don't want to operate under your regular name, your traditional name. So the term now has been called a fictitious business name. Sometimes you may see it called as a fictitious business name, but it's not. It's not actual DBA. Some places call it a fictitious one. Some people call it a doing business as name. And these are things that you all can look up. Think about it. People say, "Oh, it's a fictitious name." Okay. Some people don't even know what the word fictitious means, but it's encouraging you to go look it up. See, this is the game that we're playing in, ladies and gentlemen. There is a thing called corporate personhood. There are things that are businesses can file for bankruptcy, correct? That's the age we live in. Can a legal person file for bankruptcy? Yes. So can a corporation. And a corporation can file bankruptcy and still they end up having assets on the books. How many companies are going through bankruptcy right now in the public? You want to know what a bankruptcy is called? Uh, it's called a restructuring. That doesn't mean they go out of business. That just means they restructure assets. But the average person is so against restructuring their life. They rather go down in a sinking ship instead of jumping off on a life raft that's provided to them. You live in an opportunity zone that says you can have a lack of financial acumen. Literally, people bankrupt businesses and move on with their lives. And people are afraid to fail. Bankruptcy does not mean failure. How can it mean failure when businesses still operate within businesses to operate within bankruptcy? Oh no, but people are shivering in their boots because the lack of knowledge and research. See, people that don't have a financial mind, they think bankruptcy's bad. People that understand business, they understand you don't win every battle. Period. So you have to learn how to cut your losses. You have to discard liabilities and retain assets. You're going to go to some questions about this DBA. Feel free to ask questions in the chat. Feel free to type in where you're listening in from tonight or today, wherever you are in the world. Feel free to type into the chat while we're live. Someone said, is your surname the given name? DBA, doing business as your first, middle, or last trade name. Our last names in the Bible. We don't even know what that means, our last names in the Bible. That was just a really generic question, but uh, when we get to these so-called wanting to make things upper and lowercase, how is an individual going to get caught up in the hype of, oh, well, my name, once again, is it upper and lowercase, your birth name, and the so-called doing business as name or fictitious name is in all caps. Ladies and gentlemen, if you wrote it down on a sheet of paper in lowercase, uppercase, and that's the business name that is supposed to be done with, as long as it has that number to be transacted and business is being done in the proper manner, It's business. It's not personal. And this is where people are getting caught up because they're trying to actually connect it. You by you doing a DBA, you're connecting it instead of leaving it separate. But people want to connect it because they want ownership. But then they forget that ownership incurs liability. We're gonna go to someone's listening from Youngstown, Ohio. Appreciate you. Ocean Harris. I had someone tell me that one could use a holding company. Okay. But if it's still in your name, some kind of way, you're held liable. Ladies and gentlemen, don't make this more complicated than it has to be. Own nothing, control everything. If you own it, you're liable. It's no ifs, it's no maybes, it's no kindas, and it's no buts about it. If you want to make this complicated, people will continue to type into the chat questions that they already answered in the question. If you own it, you're going to be liable. Point blank, period. That goes for the DBAs. So if you want to have your surname or your given name filed for a DBA, how are you not liable for it? But oh, I want to control it because I don't want anybody to, have it. Okay, that's fine. Ladies and gentlemen, most people know that they're not the only one with that name. There's many people that have the same name first and last. But people say, oh, well, that's my trade name. Okay, you keep saying it's yours and you own it and you're liable. But what about the family owning that name? See, that's what people got away from. That's what the gurus on the internet wanted to push, is that you do everything yourself, where there's no family involved and family doing business together. Because the last name is the family trade name. That's what you're supposed to be good at. That's what you're supposed to be doing. Most people utilize the last name to build a brand, to build a trade name, to build a legacy. But how many people are doing that? Because they're following the gurus, trying to think that they're going to get free. Free from what? From doing business the proper way? No, you're not going to get free from doing business the proper way. You get free by doing business the proper way. And DBAs are lower forms of people that want to do some local plumber business. They want to do some local food stand. But if you're looking to plan on doing big business, you don't see DBAs. And for all the guys out there that think you're still going to do a DBA to protect yourself, why is it that millionaires and billionaires literally, when they are working with a company, they just say, don't worry about a trade name or business name. That doesn't mean anything. I don't want anybody to sue me, and when they do, I just want to make a dollar. Why is it so simple for them, but then other people, oh, they want to complicate this and file all this paperwork? They actually the government got so tired of it, they said, we're going to come out with the Paperwork Reduction Act. Because people just want to flood these government agencies that are doing their best to automate and get new technology in to process some document that says that they're what? Not under the government's control. Ladies and gentlemen, government, root word, means to control your mind. Period. Oh man, they trying to control my life. Nah, sounds like they're controlling your mind. All you talk about is the government. All you talk about is what they're trying to do to you. All you talk about is how they're in control of your life. So you're not free. You're already claiming that you're a slave. How you going to be free if you're not free mentally first? People aren't in bondage because of physical shackles. They're in bondage because of mental ignorance, lack of information. We live in an information age, and there is an information disparity. There's not an income inequality. There is an information inequality. Does everybody get the same education? You can go to Howard's Law School and Harvard's Law School, and they are completely different. And anybody that wants to say something against it, feel free. But that's a joke. For you to think that Harvard's law degree is the same as Howard University's law degree. But people want to sit here and say it's not an information disparity or inequality. It is. So what information source are you getting your information from? The news? Or are you getting it from alternative sources that have went into the shadows, went into the burrows of having apprenticeship, doing things for free, investing in themselves, This is why people honor people that dedicate themselves and their lives to a cause. It's because they dedicated their lives to it. Not some institution that's still peddling to go get a job when automation is in place. These institutions are outdated. The algorithms are killing them right now. They can't make textbooks fast enough. So the DBA is another form of not knowing how to properly do business. You want to protect your trademark. Why don't you just go file the name with the trademark at the United States Trademark and Patent Office? You can still do it on a state level for a trademark. But what benefit does that help you to do business in your name if it's in your name? And the whole goal is to own nothing, control everything. And everybody wants to be in trust. Everybody wants to go private. How you going to go private doing business as your name? Does that make any sense? You're going to go private but do business in your name. The gurus said that, right? Well, I got to own it, you know. I can't let nobody else just be making money off of me like that. Ladies and gentlemen, there are many of people making money off of everybody. Knowingly and unknowingly. Get used to it. It's okay. But how much are you going to profit off that? And think about it. How is the name valuable and you ain't did nothing with it? How much can you sell that name for right now? It's useless. Oh, no one wants to tell people that doing business as your name is useless. People don't even know how many times major corporations change hands. Why? Because no one at that level is doing business in their name. But then you got these guys over the internet. Oh man, do business, you do a DBA, stop using the social. Sure. This is where America is. People are misinformed about doing business in their name. So if you're not to do it in your name, what are you to do? You do business properly with entities. Period. Why? Because it's business. It's not personal. And anybody making any type of significant moves is not doing business in their name. They're not doing business in your name. They're not. They understand that concept that anything they own, they're liable for. If you didn't go, that's the information disparity. If you weren't in an area that educated you to let you know that, guess what? If you do business in your name, the taxes might be higher. You think? Do DBAs benefit from corporate rate or do they benefit from individual rate? But the gurus still tell people to go do the DBA. Yeah, right. It's time to do business the proper way. Is there any questions on this subject matter? Feel free to type into the chat. This is doing business as your name. So many people have come to the vault and asked these questions for over years. And, the DBA is just one of the lowest forms to be doing business in. You want to go somewhere fast, you're not going to use a Honda. You're going to go get a Ferrari. You're going to get a Lamborghini. You're going to use a fast car. And that's definitely not a DBA. We're going to got some questions coming through. When you file for a DBA in your birth name, you should attach it to your private trust and put a lien on it and operate in your private capacity. So, if you're so smart about the public and private and you're going to say that you're operating in a private capacity, how are you doing it in your name? In the private, you don't operate and own everything. You operate, own nothing, control everything. So when you operate in your private capacity, you wouldn't have a DBA. Why? Because you don't operate in the capacity of having it in your name. Maybe this is rocket science, ladies and gentlemen, and this is why they have lawyers taking people's money every day to file something that you can file for almost less than $100 or $25. And you're going to look, and this is what they come on the chat and say, everybody. You're going to attach it to your private trust. So you're going to take a public name, a DBA. DBAs are public now, But you got to do it in your birth name, like it makes a difference, whether it's uppercase or properly written out. And you're going to attach it. See how they put in the chat? Your private trust. Oh, okay. Who created the trust? You did, because it says it's yours in the chat. So it's yours, and then you put a lien on it. So you're going to put a lien on a DBA. Okay, let's talk to you all how we were talked to in trustee training when we were coming up, so we knew who the charlatans were over the internet and who was speaking the truth. Okay, so if you're gonna put a lien on something, that means that you're first in time, first in line. So if you're first in time, first in line, who's suing you? When are you gonna collect? You're gonna collect on your DBA? How? You're suing yourself. Oh, I could do that. We're done with the conversation because this is called insanity. That's what it's called. You're going to sue yourself. See, those are people that talk to themselves and they don't want to realize the truth that you don't sue yourself, right? Because then you're the plaintiff and you're the defendant. But let's just say you're going to put the lien on your name. Oh, okay. So you're going to put a lien on the name, right? You're going to put a lien on your name. And then what? Who's suing you? All that does, it says whoever's the first lien holder has priority in a debt collection. It's your property after you copyright it. Whoever is in the chat, we don't want to name names because there's no need to expose anybody. It's your property after you copyright it. We appreciate the dialogue. It's always good to have dialogue because this is why people get their money ripped off or on the internet and then they're contacting the vault talking about, well, we don't know if we could trust the vault. Ladies and gentlemen, it's trust Christian known not to control everything. If you don't trust Christian, don't email the vault. Period. Do your due diligence. Do your financial research. The vault's not here to take your money. The vault has no interest in that. The vault is a financial research and educational platform. So you're going to copyright the name. That means you own it. So guess what? When somebody sues the name of the company, you're the first one to get your assets ripped from you because you're the owner. Own not to control everything. Somebody said, I don't want tax liability for anything. I don't want nothing in my name. Ladies and gentlemen, everybody that listens to the vault, and Leo in specific that listens to the vault for many, many years, uh, we appreciate you because it's a thought process. So here we go. We're gonna keep talking to this individual that's typing to the chat. We want this to be in the chat because the chat's gonna be in the history. Hopefully they're not a coward to delete their comments. But we are okay with commenting on this because look, they're exposing the ignorance over the internet. You can go talk to a lawyer about this. That's why we're here. So you can find better lawyers, so you can find better accountants, so you can find better business people to deal with. Somebody says, exactly, you got it. You own it. Well, why are you still on the channel if it's own nothing, control everything? You clearly are not listening to the message. Own nothing, control it. Just because you have a piece of property in your control does not mean you own it. So, here we go. You must be compensated for the usage of property. Ladies and gentlemen, so you got the DBA, and now you should be compensated for the usage of the property. For all the people that listen to the vault that understands own nothing, control everything, why would you be pulling down a salary from your name? The whole goal was to not be in that position. We have another question in the chat. What about the status of the fiction, the creature of the state, the minor, the ward? Ladies and gentlemen, it's inside of your mind. This is business. When you talk about the minor and the ward, can you control, can you maintain your financial affairs? The financial affairs of your last name, of your family? Can you do that? Because Many people are not. They're dependent upon the state. Of course, the state has a cess decay trust. Of course, the state has a fiction that they have given people of their states and jurisdiction in general to receive benefits. Why? Because the average individual, the minors, weren't able to put together their own contracts. They weren't able to follow family contracts. This is how you notice an informational gap. It's an information inequality. There's an information disparity. Some families know not to have anything in their name and others don't. So when some families grow up, they continue to maneuver in a system that says that that's the way you're supposed to operate anyways. And in others, they don't know the system, so they operate from a position of ignorance, which is dealing with it in the capacity of a minor. That means people are not able to operate in the full capacity of the system. Think about it. If you live in a capitalistic system or a system that fosters free market and growth, what are you supposed to be doing? But if you're accepting a handout in the system, guess what? Those people, they do have a name. They do have a entity. It's called a social. You all know that. Wow. We literally had somebody say, the Constitution is the law. We agree. What does the Constitution say about being compensated for the usage of private property? Wow. Ladies and gentlemen, these are comments of poor people. We have no problem with pulling up on anybody, shaking a hand and saying, look, ladies and gentlemen, we've earned everything that we've ever received in our life. Not sit here and say that some arbitrary, capricious entity, you're going to let some artificial entity, so called, steal your property from up under your nose before you were ever aware of it. Because what happened to your parents? Why didn't you blame your parents for giving you a social? Well, my parents didn't know. What about your grandparents? Well, they didn't know. What about your great grandparents? Well, they didn't know. Well, clearly you have a pretty ignorant bloodline. So, in order to cure that curse, you educate yourself. How can you say you're going to get compensated from something that you would literally come out in the same sense and say that they're bankrupt? So, how are you going to collect from a bankrupt entity? See, this is the ignorance. What is it with the vault? It's business, not personal. Go create something for the world. You think just because you got a name as a citizen for the United States, you want to know what you sound like? You sound like an entitlement user. You're an entitlement user. My name is the reason why I'm entitled to compensation from the government. You're right. It's called Social Security Administration Insurance. And what position are you in that position? Are you the trustee or are you the beneficiary? Well, I'm in both positions. Yeah, and that's why you're paying for tax. That's why you get a tax refund. We love the people that come on the chat. They like to expose themselves because they come from other networks, like they have recently, and they want to say, "Oh, well, the whole chat is about these people owning something." And that the whole premise of the vault is own nothing, control everything. But guess what? They can't get their mind around the fact, well, how do I not own anything? Because you haven't been properly educated. And that's what the vault provides. It's trustee training. So someone does not put themselves in a position where they can be that. Somebody's trying to collect money from the government for taking their property. But then they're saying that the United States government is not bankrupt. How the hell is it not bankrupt and they're $1 trillion in debt? Get off the chat. You sound stupid. I don't own the entity. The trust owns it. Ladies and gentlemen, these are people. Think about it, ladies and gentlemen. The vote is for a certain group of people. And these are actually still episodes for trustees that have moved on and they're out of trustee training, but they still come back and still listen to the vote. That's how evolving our channel is. Do trustees come on here and try to combat it? No. People that have no interest have to come around and say, oh, yeah, I know what I'm talking about. Why? What's the point? What is the point? Go start your own channel. Provide good for the world. But you know why you're not going to collect? Because you don't provide good for the world. Because you want to come in and comment on other people's good on the world. The good on the world is at least bringing light to the subject matter. Why? Because there's so many people that are utilizing it in an improper capacity. The same person that talked about trust is the same person that literally says there's no such thing as lawyers. We love the fact that this is in the chat. It's recorded history of people's ignorance. Ladies and gentlemen, we appreciate everybody for tuning in live and tuning into the chat. Please feel free to go back to the past episodes, enlighten people's selves, and move forward. We appreciate people that are in the chat right now. It was beautiful tonight. So, ladies and gentlemen, for everyone that listens to the vault that was planning on getting in trustee training, hey, say thank you to everybody in the chat that literally waste people time. Please say thank you to them. Because this is why the vault always had a time frame. These episodes weren't meant to be the next guru or hero on the internet. They were here to have a conversation that is not had in so many African indigenous descent communities. Whether people are aware of what an LLC is, what a C Corp is, what an S Corp is, what a trust is, uh, what a DBA is. We have to bring these conversations to the platform because so many people are looking to go into business. And because they want to go into business, it's rather important to talk to them about what's available to them, because even when they go and engage with these so-called non-governmental entities or third parties, there's limited knowledge. When you go talk to, not all lawyers are created equal. So when you engage with people in the public, you're going to see that not every source is credible, not every source is reliable. So when you're in that position, it's rather important to try to find good sources and continue to source more and more information on these subject matters, is whether it's finding good lawyers or finding good accounts. That's what it's about. So once again, if you all have a question about DBA, something that's legitimate towards DBA, please feel free to type into the chat, you know. But at the end of the day, ladies and gentlemen, the vault has made it a point to provide education in the realm of uh, protection, uh, preservation, uh, literally as well, growth, and as well passing it along. And so we're okay with continuing our mission, just moving on, because that's what it's all about. And so, that's what it's about. It's about being able to say we can work with families, and families can continue to grow and move on, and that's that. So, really excited for everyone that has tuned in live, listen to replay. We had a wild chat tonight because, man, there are people that just, man, the conversations, they're not going to lead anything if no one's making any money. But because people are so in a position that they're in, what is it about? Is it about education, or is it about just wanting to have a word in the ethers in the universe? Ladies and gentlemen, the vault, this entire episode has not given out their email and will not give out the email. Why? Because this is where the people in the chat, they don't get the benefit from that. They don't get the benefit anymore from the fact that, guess what? I need to email you and say, hey man, does this work or does this not work? But there'll be the same one in the chat that will literally say it doesn't work. That's interesting. Interesting. So this wasn't meant to be a long episode. DBAs are always going to be short episodes because they really don't have long-term value. No one at any major level is utilizing these things. And so we wanted to bring light of it because we know a lot of younger millennial brothers and sisters that they literally walk into this information and they're blinded. They're like, oh my gosh, man. Like, I don't know where to start. And I feel like I need to make money. Ladies and gentlemen, that's what the vault is about: growing wealth, growing capital, period, at whatever level you're at. And the position, which is the entity that you're in, the car that you're in, the vehicle that you're in, will dictate how fast you can move, whether you know it or not. It's like trying to drive something through quicksand. It doesn't work. It's gonna go in, because anything that moves in quicksand sinks deeper. That's it, period. And for people to come into the chat and just not even have a clue about that, it's just it's just mind blowing. Saying that you got to own everything, saying you got to have things in your name, saying that you're going to own your name. How does that help anybody? Somebody said appreciate the DBA information. No worries. That's very very important, because it's like, well, are you're going to go file a DBA in your name? You file a DBA in your name. Okay, what happens when you generate money on that name? Whose is it? We're talking own nothing, control everything. The person that's utilizing that position, they're going to be liable for it. Most people don't know how to do an assignment. Ladies and gentlemen, these are things you talk to lawyers about. Not be afraid to have conversations with them about. To ask them, how is it able to execute this in my favor or in the favor of the family? Yep, we're happy that we finally unleashed and let people come into the chat tonight and finally just unleash. And they did. So we appreciate it. We'll definitely got tons of episodes. May do an episode later tonight, just because this was a baby topic. It was really a baby topic. It was just something we thought about. We had a bunch of questions this past week. That's why we did the episode on SP University, because so many people came to us, and they asked us about the SPC packet, and we're just like, look, ladies and gentlemen, is not the SPC packet a contract? Is the DBA a contract? Yes, the DBA is a contract between who? You and yourself and I. You know what I mean? So when it's you, yourself, and I, how can you be in a position of own nothing, control everything? Well, if you're not looking to be in a position of own nothing, control everything, then clearly you're going to go do a DBA, because people want to use alternative means to not properly operate in commerce. The way you properly operate in commerce is by making sure that you actually limit your liability. That's why people use LLCs. That's why people use S corps and C corps. They're trying to minimize the liabilities. But when you don't have any money or you don't have any assets to protect, people don't think about it like that. Why would they call it a limited liability company? Well, hey, well, what if I just took my name and then I put it in, what did they say? They put their name as a LLC. Well, do you own it? Yes. Okay. Sounds like liability. Right, but it says limited liability. Right, we're going to slow it down even slower. It's limited liability. It doesn't take away at all. Well, what puts us in that position? Own nothing, control everything. Thank you, Leo Spell, for shouting us out on the YouTube. Once again, long time listener. Definitely have connected with Leo. This is somebody that, ladies and gentlemen, these are people that invest in their education. These are youngsters. These are people that they come to the vault. They get their questions answered. They get their consultations. They get their questions answered. This is years ago, and they still listen. This is not meant to be a guru station. This is the channel where one day you meet up on an island. This is the channel where you meet up and you're doing business deals together. Period. But how many people want to really build something? Appreciate Kenneth Davis for tuning in live. Appreciate you. Ocean Harris, Cassandra Jackson from Mississippi. Appreciate you all. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, it's an interesting time right now to see how people are living out here. But one thing we can say for sure is just putting yourself in a proper position, setting yourself up for success. DBAs are, they're not overly successful. You don't see them operating highly in the public. It's just one of those things that you just don't see. You see people operating out of more protected entities by law. There's more laws in place for corporations. There's more laws in place for LLCs. DBAs, DBAs aren't even going traditionally from one state to the next. But I protected my name. Hold on. You did the DBA, but what happened? Did you protect it on the federal level? Hold on. Right. We didn't hear that part. We didn't hear that part, did we? Right. We didn't hear that part. Because the gurus told us to protect our name. But they didn't tell us that it wasn't dealing with a federal situation. Oops, did we drop that bomb? Are you going to contact SP now? Are you going to contact the gurus and say, look, hold on. A DBA is only on the county level. It doesn't cover foreign jurisdictions? No. Where'd you find that out? You can go talk to your local lawyer. Don't worry about where we got. Let's find out what the lawyers say, right? Because you are going to have a lawyer defend the DBA, right? Yeah, you're going to have a lawyer defend the LLC, right? You're going to have a lawyer defend the corporation, right? Yeah. Talk to them about that. Does it have the ability to maneuver in multiple jurisdictions? No. That's why people come to the vault. To own nothing, control everything. Appreciate you all for tuning in live, listening to replay. We'll definitely do another episode because this one was short. And we're going to come back with something a lot more solid that involves a little bit more depth. But we still like doing these short episodes because these are the light work episodes you can listen to and say, I don't need to waste my time doing that. So many people come to the vault, they spend hundreds of dollars, $200, $500, thousands of dollars. They filing all this paperwork. They're trying to get all the discharge in place. And then what happened? Did they discharge yet? Nope. Nope. No discharge came through yet. Right. Unless you're going to go get a securities license and go through the entire process, ladies and gentlemen, it's a waste of time. Focus on setting up your family from one generation to the next. Can you do that with a DBA? No, it's a waste of time. Productivity is the calling of the vault. Tangible results are what people eat off. And we respect that at the vault. We don't have time for followers. We have time to make sure that we're educating the strong so they can be stronger. The ones that are going to invest in themselves, that are going to take a risk on themselves. Appreciate you all for tuning in live, listening to replay.